Good Saturday leadership. I know you guys are probably expecting Mr. Thomas, but you know what? Today, Mr. Thomas has some hair. All right, Saturday leadership. As Mr. Thomas says, can we have some fun today, guys? Can we have some fun? Yes, yes, yes. All right. I know Mr. Jabri Clemens isn't on the call today. So it always is humbling when you realize how much work he puts in just to get one call going together. And I can tell you, it's not easy. It's not easy. So I know he's not here, but I definitely want to be able to give it back to him because it can be a challenge. So just bear with me for one moment as I get myself set up here. But what I want to discuss today is kind of really a follow-up from the last call we were on. So when I hosted the Saturday Leadership, I guess that would have been the 25th of March. We went through some reflection. We focused on how to get back to that place where we were when we first said yes to the business, when we first committed ourselves to saying, we are going to do this. And I took us back to that. Now, additionally, what we did is we also just reflected on moment. And that moment really characterizes where we should be now. And sometimes we forget because we don't spend the time to reflect. And so it was all about reflection and really looking at, because we were close to the end of, what was that, Q1. And we really wanted to understand, oh, hey, we set all these goals at the beginning of the year, whether it's fitness goals, weight goals. I'm going to try that. I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to call somebody, all of these different goals. But sometimes we end up falling off, right? So I wanted to get us back there. It's like one of the things I reflected on was, my twins that unfortunately lost last year, and even going beyond that, it's, this upcoming weekend, we're actually doing a charity walk for March of Dimes. We raise money and just thinking about how we have changed from in that year. And then also looking at, and that was just something that I shared with everyone for what I reflected on. And that actually became a bigger part of my why. And building on to that first moment when we started. But what I want to do, I want to keep with that mentality on that thought process of reflection, because it's been a month. And, I don't want to be before you long because I know it is Saturday and there's a lot of other places you could be, right? I know a few of my friends are saying there's a fight happening tonight that they're going to be watching, but you know what? I'm here with you guys. So I want to go back with that idea of reflection. So this is really going to be reflection part deux. I think that's French, and deux, part two, right? Or Spanish, dos. I'm a little easier, dos. Or each ni, that's two in Japanese. So there you go. Got 4 languages there for you. English, 2. Yeah. So here, let me share my screen here. If anyone wants to, and I'm going to jump into it, participation, guys. If 2 or 3 of you guys want to come off mute, and thinking back from the time that we reflected and thought through where we were when we started this business. If anybody wants to come off mute and even share, kind of what's changed in this last month, something that they've done differently, something they've achieved in this past month. And I'm not talking about achievement in the way of, I've got 10 new customers, I've got 4 new business partners, not in that type of way in business, but maybe something along the lines of kind of your mental state, your kind of mindset with the business from where we once were. As I mentioned, it was a time to reflect, to take us back to that time. So, and I'll even share, example for myself. It's since the last call, I really focused on acquiring a customer a day. And yes, it's centered around the customer, but really what it is to put myself into consistency. So one of the challenges I'll say for myself was being consistent with the business. And many of us experience it, you know, you're all human, right? Things happen in our lives. And it really was, I took the idea of, I want to be consistent, but what does that mean? So I took it from whether it's, you know, working on a service a day, just one service per day, one service, not two, not three, not 10 points, not 30 points a day, but one service a day. Because what that did, that pushed me to engage with people that I've showed the business to. And they said, you know, not for me right now, to re-engage with them to see if they want to become a customer. It also pushed me to reach out to some of, you know, my downline that kind of disappeared for a little while, just to pick back up and say, hey, just wanted to see how you guys are doing. How are you doing? How's the family? That kind of thing. It pushed me to do that, to see, hey, is there anything I can help you with the business? Things like that. So it really helped me to stay consistent through this last month. And yes, it was centered on the customer, but that consistency was the overall mindset change that I had to reflect on, because, you know, through the time, things happen. So I don't know if that's just what I kind of worked on or changed through this last month. But is there anyone that may want to? You don't have to. It's, you know, totally up to you. But is there anybody, if you want to raise your hand or jump off mute? I think
yes,
I saw
Mr. Sharp. Yes, Mr. Sharp. Mr. Foster here. How you doing, sir? From Dallas, Texas.
Foster, I think I saw Miss Deborah first. Ladies first, sir. Sorry.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Okay, so what I've done is, like, for my weeks, I just started setting my goals on Sundays. So my main thing was to reach out to at least 19 people. If I didn't reach out to the 19 people, I put what I did reach out to per video, leads, whatever it was. So now I had a life event that just happened this week. I had a whole full knee replacement. So now I'm changing that. I'm going to do everything I need to do, be consistent with what I said I was going to do in the beginning, and stay focused on doing what else I need to do in the business, like making more phone calls. I'm getting ready to start on the business side, because I've been in the dirty pool with people. The dirty pool's too dirty. I need to stay out the dirty pool, because I'm not getting no confirmations. I'm getting people in the witness protection program. They don't want to answer the phones. So I'm getting ready to go to the business side of it, because I need to move from where I am, and I'm going to only do it for me.
I like that, Miss Deborah. I like that. And that is great, because even though you had a life event, and I'm sorry to hear about that knee replacement, because I know that is not fun.
No, it's not fun.
It's painful.
Yeah.
Recovery, all of that. So I understand. I've been around a few people that have. So my strength is with you, and patience.
Okay.
But yeah, I like that, you know, is 19, setting the 19 people that you call. If you don't get it, but hey, you pushing towards it. That's the goal. That's the goal. It's changing that mentality, getting yourself ready. I like that. Thank you, Miss Deborah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Backbone and Posture.
Yeah. Well, for me, guys, it's been getting myself out of the way. I noticed a lot of times I've been in the past used to trying to control everything, not in a negative way, but just trying to get things done, and, you know, trying to press. And lately, I guess within the last week or so, I've been kind of pulling back a little bit, and that means listening to IBOs or potential customers on what their conversation is actually telling me. And just by example, the last probably 2 people that I put in the business, actually the last 3, I actually listened to what their conversation was telling me instead of just their mouth. And then I went back and started asking them several questions just to make sure that I heard them right. And that gave them an opportunity to really, open up to me, things of that nature. So it wasn't so much as going after them straight way about the business, but letting them realize that I also care about them and their well-being. So when they do come into the business or decide to be a customer, they still know that we can hang out, we can fellowship, you can pick up the phone, you can talk to me. I'm not mad at you if you don't become my IBO or my customer. and just trying to get to know people more than just talking about the business, because life happens, and we're so used to being coached, to be a certain kind of way. But then at the same time, we have to also show our compassionate side too. So I'm working on that. Mr. Backbone Imposter is working on being more lenient. But I still got that backbone imposter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Love it, Mr. Foster. And I will say I commend you on that because I've seen it. We've been hosting here in Dallas weekly Saturday meetings, our leadership meetings, and kind of like Mr. Thomas says, it's like, hey, just get together for a coffee. And the unique thing that we found is actually at a hotel, same location we go to every time. It's a Courtyard Marriott, and it has a Starbucks in the lobby. So we're actually still meeting for a coffee. And so the idea is that when we grow out of just being able to needing to be in the lobby, we can just move into the meeting room. And so it becomes like it's all still the same location. And Mr. Foster, I've seen it, and you're right. That is something. Yes, that's all I can say is yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love it. Thank you. Anyone else? I'll give you a quick second. Anyone else? If not, I can definitely move forward. But what I wanted to take is really to just showcase that sometimes thinking back, not necessarily what we did wrong or what we need to change, but just reflecting on what has happened and not beating us over the head on those things. It's more so what is it, what's happened, and just knowing that, leaving that there in the past, but then what are we going to do in the future? And on the topic of reflection, today I also wanted to talk through some things on just some questions that just doing some personal development, listening to some podcasts and things like that, and just thinking through what are some questions that we can ask ourselves each week. So, we reflected on where we were when we started. So we got a different mindset. We set that foundation again. Great. Now we look at what are we going to do with that information? And what I want to give you is just 3 questions, just the simple 3 questions that you can ask yourself each week. But not only are these questions important for you, they can be important for questions that you ask your team as well. Because knowing where your team is and where their mindset is as well, and where you can help coach them, guide them, understanding where they are in their personal life. Because I had an IBO that joined, he's so excited. He actually joined some other network marketing company years ago, and it was something similar to where it was utilizing services. And he said he signed up and never did anything. And come to find out, he signed up again, still never did anything. But I'm still, once I get a hold of him, he had some family thing. He did reach out to me and say he had some family things. He just needs to handle those, and that's fine. But when we get back together, these are some of the questions that I'm going to be asking him, so I can get back connected with him and understand where I can help guide him, because I need to understand where he wants to go. How fast does he want to crawl, walk, or run, or sprint? And I want to be there to help him reach those goals. So these are some of the questions. And if you're taking notes, definitely feel free to take notes. So I call them really the 3 questions to prime you for success. As Mrs. Foster says, if you're taking notes. So 3 questions to prime you for success. First question that I look at is, I like to reflect on is, what are you focused on this week? And this is questions you can ask weekly. You can even change it to a daily type of thing, monthly. I like week because it gives you enough time to readjust, realign. If the first, at first you don't succeed, try, so you can readjust through the week. So I like a weekly time frame, but you can also do this daily. The second question I would say is, ask yourself or your team would be, what are you grateful for this week? What are you grateful for? Because if we're not thankful for where we are now, how can we appreciate where we're going to be? And even thinking about the first one, what are we looking to focus on? It, like I mentioned before, one of the things I reflected on, so the last few weeks is consistency. And how did I look at doing consistency? And it was to look at acquiring, focused on acquiring one service, just one service a day. And that's what helped me stay consistent. That was my small little goal each day, each week. And what I'm grateful for, it changed each week. And what you'll find out when you ask yourself these questions and you start asking your team, you'll get to understand how you can better support them, how you can better even support yourself. Do you need to create systems? Do you need to get up earlier and handle certain things? And then also the third question here is, what are you working towards this week? What are you working towards? Ms. Deborah R., thank you for sharing, her week, hey, she's working on 19. 19's the number. She didn't say 20, she said 19, right? That's very specific. And that is what she was working towards this week. Mr. Foster shared with us. He said, hey, I'm focusing on listening this week. Listening. Just listen. Because if you listen to the people you speak to, the new people you meet, your family members, your spouse, your significant other, your partner, whoever it is, if you just listen to them, they will tell you everything. They will show you who they are. They'll show you what they need. They'll show you where their pain is. They will open up to you, but you have to listen, listen, Linda, listen. And these are the three questions. You can screenshot and take notes, but these are three questions that I asked myself, and come to find out, these are three questions that Mr. Thomas on a leadership call that I'm on with him for some of the RCs. These are the questions he was asking me. I didn't understand why. But he was so focused on asking these questions. But what I realized, and I happened to listen to a podcast that happened to talk about this, and it all clicked, because it was like, wow, I see why. Because what he could find out was what made us tick. What was our energy focus? Where's our outlook on the next week? If the next week this focus, one of the big focuses for me this week, what am I working towards this week? Is being able to support my wife with this charity walk that we're doing for next Saturday. That's a big focus for me this week. What am I working towards? So it doesn't even have to be business related. It can just be in your life. What are you focused on? What are you grateful for this week? Doesn't have to be. I'm grateful for the fact that like Miss Deborah R., hey, she had knee surgery. You should be thankful every day when you can stand up and walk without pain. Those little things, we should be grateful for those things, right? So just those are the three questions I like to ask. And, really focusing on this, because this also helps us create structure. Once we get the answers to these questions to really start to think through, we can start to create a structure. And this structure, especially when we talk about our team, we want to create a structure that re-engages the intention. What is our intention with this business? As I mentioned, this is coming full fold. Stay with me now, Mr. Foster, stay with me now. I'm at the end, I'm gonna break it all together for you, all right? But what is our intention with this business? Creating the structure that re-engages. Why does Mr. Thomas have daily calls for us? Because it re-engages our intention. It keeps us in the loop. Why does the co-founders, why do they host regional events? Because it re-engages our intention in this business. It gives us a structure into coming back to home, coming back to the start where we began with this business, and re-engages us to that structure. So, when we reflected last month, we went to that day one, and there was an intention that you thought through. And I asked you guys to write it down. Hopefully you guys did. I'm not going to ask for you to say it aloud, but just think back to that, because that is your intention. And when you can ask these questions, create a structure for you, and also create a structure for your team that helps you stay connected with them, that's when you can get to that success that we're talking about. So with that, I also want to make, see here. Oh, also want to point out here, sorry, just reviewing some of my notes here. what happens and what's happened with people in general is when we set those intentions, and it doesn't matter what it is, when we set an intention over time, the excitement behind that intention, it fades. We lose the energy behind it. We lose that drive behind that intention. So that's why we need that re-engagement. And when we think of someone who, say, new IBO, so I think Mr. Foster just got a new IBO signed in today, just this morning at our morning call. So congratulations, Mr. Foster, congratulations. And you know, for those new IBOs, and I'm sure many of you just got some new IBOs recently, if not today, in the last week or so. But what happens when they start? They're fired up, they're ready to go. And but what happens, what stops them is they get that first no. Their best friend, it happened to me. I promise you it happened to me within the first month. My best friend said no. He was in real estate, business guy. He's like, yeah, we've done everything. Guy in my wedding. Nope. And told me that nobody makes money in those things. That doesn't work. Down I went. My cousin, nope, I'm not doing that. Nope. Third no, fourth no, fifth no, sixth no, seventh. You get all these no's, and that intention that you started with was up here, that excitement, that energy. And over time, what happens? Right? And then we get back to here. And when we get back to here, that's when we stop. Many quit. But if we can create a structure of engagement by asking these questions for ourselves and for our team, that's when we can create that support that keeps us re-engaged, keeps us looping back to that original intention when we started, giving us the structure to go back to day one, reminding us why we're doing it, reminding us who we're doing it for, and we can get back to that. Because I can promise you, just like you, when you started, there those new IBOs that join your team, that have joined your team, there's a reason why they stopped. Number of reasons, right? But imagine if you were able to ask these questions from the start, day one, day two, day three, whatever. What would you like to focus on this week? And of course, you got to keep it in structure. But let's say the IBO, I don't know. What do I need to do? Great, boom. You can create that structure for them. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to invite 50 of your closest family and friends, people that you know, people that's most successful people. We're going to get them on a Zoom call immediately. Let's get something set up tomorrow morning. Let's do it. You know, you create that structure for them. You create the questions. Hey, this is what we're going to work towards this week, right? And that creates that structure to keep them engaged with their intention. So it's like, MSTJ, I do see your hand up. I'll get to you one moment. Oh, no, okay. And with that structure, it's kind of like going on a road trip. So this is I love this metaphor. It's like going on a road trip, right? There's intention and structure. On a road trip, what do you need? You need a vehicle and you need a route, right? Your route or route, depending on which country you're in, how you pronounce it, route. The vehicle is your intention. The route is your structure. For instance, let me break it down. A vehicle with no route is just wasted energy. It's just driving around, just going. There's no destination. There's no structure, right? There's an intention. The vehicle is intended to move forward and move you from point A to point B. It has an intention, but there's no route. So it's just wasted energy, right? But then a route with no vehicle is a wasted opportunity. You have a route, you have a destination, but without the intent, it's just waste. So, I mean, I can go even further. You know, when we think about the fuel, a vehicle is going to need the fuel. That fuel is the excitement, the new IBOs starting. That fuel, the re-engagement, the structure that brings that re-engagement. And as you said, over time, just like fuel, it dissipates, right? Your fuel tank, you see it go from F to E, right? It's the same thing. That's why we have to continue to re-engage, create the structure to continue to build, to grow, to keep those IBOs engaged, to keep yourself engaged. Whether it's the live events, whether it's the daily phone calls, these Saturday leaderships. Miss Diane Collins, I don't even know if you've even missed one of these, right? You're always on. You know, Miss Akiko in Japan, she's always on, right? Mr. Foster, Miss Jackie Black, TJ, Miss Catherine, you're always, Coach Johnny, always, right? We're re-engaging. Miss Deborah R., right? We're all engaging. And this is what's continuing to loop us back in, to continue with our intention of why we started. I see Mr. Ransom on here, you know, there's Mr. Fetty Sherman on, you know, this is what we do to stay engaged, create the structure. So that's all I really wanted to cover with you guys. But the whole point is we've got to continue. It's like going on a road trip. Like I said, you need a vehicle and you need a route. You need your intention and you need structure behind it. Because without those, it's either wasted energy or it's a wasted opportunity. So continue to ask these 3 questions so it re-engages you, gives you structure to what you should be focusing on, and also what you can focus on with your team. It brings you closer, because here's one of the last things I want to cover, because the reason why this is important, because there's an equation that gets results. And I heard this before, but it didn't quite click until just recently, because it's you plus them times a system, and the system is the structure, gets you the results. You working with them as the new IBOs, them as the new customers. When you work together with this structure, this system, ACN system, you can get results. That's all I have, guys. Ladies and gents, that's it. So I hope this was helpful. And I hope that this allows us to reflect and circle back. And before I open up, Ms. TJ, I know you had your hand up. You have something?
Yeah, if it's okay, it was probably back when you were giving the questions out, and then when you flip the page to the title talked about Prime, your questions and the whole conversation kind of took me to a different metaphor, even though I love your metaphor with the Mercedes and the road and travel and what have you. That's really wonderful. But you took me to a metaphor from the reflection. Everything ties in together, from the reflection to the questions, and seeing basically how to the prime part of it. So here's the metaphor. Everything that you talked about from last month to now had me thinking of an old-fashioned pump where you pump water out of it, right? Where you get water out of, I don't know who's on here old enough to remember the water pumps. You get a water pump and you pump in the water. What happens when you stop pumping that water? Water goes all the way back down, and you have to get it back up, air going back up. And that's what you're reminding me of, especially when you maybe reflect on when I first got started. What did I do from the time you brought that up until now? And so my sharing won't be like Miss Deborah's. It won't be like Mr. Foster's. From the standpoint of, if we're in a safe zone to be able to tell the truth, what happened for me is I recognized some things, but I didn't fix them in that month. And so this reflection, again, part 2, thank you very much, is more fuel to start pumping that again, get the water back up, pouring it through so that I can have the results I say I want to have. Otherwise, I'm just a liar. I say I want to be this. I say I want to do this. I say, hey, I'm going to go get a customer a day. But what did I do to actually get a customer day? Yeah, life happens. It happens to me too. And my prayers are with you, my dear, for the surgery that you had, and God's covering and healing over you and yours. But at the same time, life still happens, but my mouth still works, right? I can't make any excuses. So, like I said, that the priming, that your whole everything today, so extraordinary and helpful, because we think in pictures, right, everybody? We think in color and we think in pictures. And so it's a very colorful explanation of how we can apply what you're sharing with us, reflecting on what I say, why I got started, why I'm still in the business, etc. And what are my actions matching? Oh, I stopped pumping. So thank you for, again, for, just with stoking the fire, if you will, or the eagle jabbing in the nest, get out that nest and get up and fly, soar, whatever you need to do. So thank you for that. That's all. I just wanted to bring it full circle. And thank you for triggered. Okay. God bless you.
Thank you, TJ. And I'm so thankful that you shared that, because I never know if what I'm sharing. When I share, I'm sharing because it's something that I know, it's something that it hits me to the core. So I'm glad that it can be beneficial for you as well, and for others on the call. I do see some comments in the chat, so thank you guys. Really, really, really sweet. So thank you. No, but that's all I had. And I don't want to belabor you too long here, but I'm just so glad for you guys jumping on. And I really hope that this gives you a little bit more motivation. And like you said, poking the bear, we all have things that happen, but sometimes it's good to just say, hey, that's happened. What are we going to do moving forward? So let's make this next month. I don't know if Mr. Thomas is going to ask me to come back, but when I see you again, I may have to hit back on this topic just to see if anybody has worked on and changed anything and actually taken some of the words to hopefully help grow and build their business. So.